Okay.
Okay.
We just finished shooting a commercial here in our home studio, 401 Studios in Houston, Texas, and we are with the one, the only director, Kelley Leger, who has directed, I can't even count how many commercials for big brands all over the country. I've actually worked with you on all 3 coasts.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I've worked with him longer.
That's true.
I think I was the first person that Kelley ever directed. So full disclosure, we're cousins.
Wait a minute!
We're 3 months apart, so we grew up in the same crib, quite literally.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
But I remember we were probably 10. Your mom my aunt was getting her nails done, and we were in this little, I guess there was like a nail salon, and then they had like, for all the businesses, they had like these mailboxes, you know, where you put your key in and get your mail. And there was a security camera set up so that I could monitor that. And when Kelley saw that, he was like, I know what we're doing here while we're waiting. So he wrote a whole script, and I don't remember what it was, but I had stage direction, I had to come in and interact with things. I mean, it was just me, it was a one-man show. I was probably pretty good in it, but I'm probably the first person that Kelley ever directed.
Yeah.
I love to think that there's a security guard somewhere telling the same story right
Yes,
now.
I hope so. I hope so.
Well,
yeah.
I assume someone was watching on the other side of that camera the whole time, like somebody's watching this. I wonder what they think, you know?
Yeah, of course.
Their feedback was all in my brain, but it was good. They liked it.
Awesome. So let's see if we can give some helpful advice to business owners who want to make a commercial. So tell us a little bit about what that process looked like. So if I'm being too simplistic, correct me, but you've got pre-production, production, post-production.
Yeah, that's it. Pre-production, production, post-production.
Where should they put their effort, and then where should they maybe turn it over to somebody who kind of lives in this world?
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's, as they say, you get what you pay for, right? And so at the end of the day, you want a professional, you know, working on your, you're working on your stuff. That being said, there is a lot of things you can do yourself. It's not like you have to run right out of the gate and say, oh gosh, I have to have all this money to do it. In fact, they say, what do they say? Necessity is the mother of invention. That's been my kind of my go-to my entire career. So, you know, starting out, I didn't have all the bells and whistles. I didn't have a studio. I didn't have any of that kind of thing. I just worked with the security camera that I had. And so that's where you start. And in this day and age, that's a great place to start. People digest that kind of content. They digest, you know, things shot on your phone. That is a great place to start. And so, you know, I think that's where everybody should start. As you go, you start realizing that that's more difficult than I thought it was. That's something I probably should have had somebody else do. That took me too many hours. I'm like, I'm never doing that again. And by nature, you kind of start to hire said people to do those kind of things. That's what I've always done in my career. I started doing everything, and as time went on, I realized I don't want to do that anymore. I don't have to do that anymore. Or I had more money than I could pay some, you know, and it just progressed in that way. So that's how I have gone about the whole thing. I mean, a psych included, which I know we'll probably get into some of that, but a white psych is what we see behind us, and there's a lot of ways that you could do that.
So you are a director, but when it comes to a production and being on set, there are a lot of different people running around. If I'm trying to piecemeal this thing together myself, who all do I need to hire at a bare minimum? How many hands do I need doing stuff?
Sure, and that's where the necessity comes in. So you see a big movie production. Could you do something like a big Hollywood movie is doing with a lot less people? Yes, you could. And it ultimately usually will just take longer to do it because you're just wearing more hats. And yes, you could argue that maybe some of your production value, you know, suffers because you don't have the experts in all the positions, but nonetheless, you can do it. And so you see that big machine on a production set and you're like, well, what do all those guys do? Well, it literally is like an engine in a vehicle. It's a very well-oiled machine. Everything is there for a very specific reason. And until you know what that reason is, there's no reason to go and hire out a big crew. I say start where you are. You start with a camera. You start with a subject, a product, whatever it is that you're trying to shoot. And then you have to have content to shoot, wherein that means you need a writer or you need to have written it yourself. So you need a writer and you need a camera and someone to operate the camera.
Don't write it yourself.
Correct. Yeah. Hey, there's some great writers out there nowadays. But writing is a craft, it's a skill, especially in the advertising space.
Yeah.
You know, we're not talking about, it's an art to take, you know, a few words about your brand or your product, and anybody can say it in an hour. That's a lot of words.
Right.
But if I'm giving you 30 seconds, if I'm giving you 15 seconds, you got to pick all the right words and you got to frame it up. That is an art, and that takes people years, and people spend millions.
What is the one thing that people are going to care about the most, and how can I effectively communicate that in this amount of time?
That's it. It's an art. It's fun. It's
Yeah.
fun. I mean, we enjoy it. Not everybody will necessarily enjoy it, but you get the right people, the right hands on it. Lickety split, they got it.
We've done a lot of commercials together over the last 20 years, and we almost, I say we, kind of all of us lean towards comedy. I think all the ones you've done with us have been, they've all been comedy.
We
Yeah.
literally built a comedy club.
We literally just shot it, yeah.
That's right.
So I guess the question is why? Why do you like, why does comedy, you know, the direction you like to go a lot of times?
I mean, it's fun. You know, ultimately it's fun. Humor is never going to get old. Humor doesn't go out of date. It's been there since the beginning of time. There's jokes. I mean, you can look back to oldest literature we have on the planet, and you're going to find humorous things. It's always been. It's not going anywhere, and it's a good way to lower people's defenses. It's a good way to talk about a product. It's a good way to talk about a heavy subject. It's a good way to talk about anything, because people's defenses are lowered, and you can make a relaxed decision. It's not pressure. Comedy is just good for softening any blow, you know, that you might do. So. From an advertising perspective, it's win-win. It's great, and it's fun, and it's enjoyable, and it's entertaining. You know, nobody wants to buy anything from something that somebody's trying to sell them. You know, you want it to be an enjoyable process. Nobody likes the used car salesman. Now, if your buddy's talking about it, you're talking to your buddy. You know, so comedy gets you in that same mode. It's in the same thing. So I like comedy for those reasons, because frankly, it's fun, and it's a fun way. You're gonna buy stuff. You're gonna sell stuff. But you might as well have fun doing it. You might as well do all that in a creative umbrella.
Gotcha. So let's say I don't have the money to hire the pros, and I've got a phone, and I've got a product. Can you give me some tips on how I can, like, with just my phone, how can I make that product look the best that it can?
Sure. Well, a case in point, kind of what I was alluding to earlier, like what we have here in our studio is common in studios. It's called a wall cyc. It's a cyclorama. And it gives the illusion of an infinity background that goes forever. It's rounded at the bottom, and so if you ever seen a movie like The Matrix,
Free your mind.
they look like they're in this forever white space room. It's a negative background, a limbo background, as it were. And so that's what we shoot in a lot of those spaces. If you remember the Mac commercials, Apple commercials from not too long ago, on a white space. This is a great way to shoot for a lot of reasons. I like it because it's timeless. You know, how long ago was the Matrix come out now? I mean, I don't know when we'll air, when you'll be watching this, but a while ago. And so it's evergreen. This white cyc background is evergreen. That's why studios today still have them, and why we still like to shoot them. It could have been shot any time. Black and white doesn't go out of style, and so white is a good place to shoot your products. It's a good place to shoot people, whatever the case may be. We like it a lot because it's timeless. It's clean. It does a lot of those things. Not only that, but it's something that you can emulate without having to come to a studio and have a wall cyc that someone has spent tens and tens of thousands of dollars in doing. For a long time, I would just, and here's a great little tip. For a long time, I would just use a white sheet. If you don't have a white sheet, do you have a white blind? Do you have sheer curtains? Yeah. You know, something like that on a window. Because a window already you have the biggest light source on the planet outside, the sun, so pick a sunny day. And you pull that sheer curtain over that window, you got this huge light source coming from behind you, looking kind of familiar now, coming from behind you, so it gives the illusion, and if you frame it up just right, where you don't see the edges of your window and you don't see the top or the bottom, it's just this big white space behind you. So if you put an individual in front of it, we have one light here, and you just use a single light. Or if you get a white poster board and put it in front of the camera for that light to bounce off of and hit you, you just bought a piece of poster board, you got your phone on a, you can put it on a stack of books, and you got your window with your sheer blinds, and you can begin to emulate the look that we see here.
There's a reason that 9 out of 10 B2B marketers are using LinkedIn. Today we're going to talk about the why and the how.
And that's a great place to start.
Yeah, that's great. Is there any particular like camera settings I need to be aware of, like, you know, bumping ISO, exposure, anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, you want to what we would say, open up your camera as wide as it'll, maybe not as wide, but wide, because you need to let enough light in the back that it's totally overexposed.
Yeah.
It's blown out. We would say it's blown out. It's all white. But at the same time, it's not so blown out that everybody we see on the front is also blown out. Now, this is, I'm talking more of his language right now. He could tell you a little bit more about this photography speak. But you know, case in point is, you know, don't blow it out so much where you're overexposed in the front, but definitely overexpose the back. And you know, you can do a series of things. You can add more lighting to even it all out. You can do a few things like that. It's really not a difficult process, to tell you the truth. But it's a good place to start. That's what I would do. I mean, you just need your camera, you just need a poster board, you just need a window. And before you step into something like this, and there's good reasons for stepping into something like this, but I shot that way for a lot of years before I had this right here.
Yeah, yeah.
I have questions about the studio. If you
Yeah, do it. Let's hear all about it.
So we've had the chance to shoot 3 or 4 commercials here, and so we love it. It's kind of our home away from home. So tell us a little bit about For the One Studio and what all's going on here, all the facilities that you've got.
Sure. So I spent majority of my career in Southern California, Los Angeles, San Diego, and I shot in every studio you can imagine, from all throughout San Diego, throughout Orange County, and throughout Los Angeles. I've seen them all, done them all, been in them all. And when I made my way back to the South, back to Texas, ultimately my partner and I decided it was time for a studio. She'd also been around several studios too, and we decided that we wanted to build something like we had never seen before. Most of the studios, and rightfully so, they are built for what goes on in front of the camera. But they're not really, and so technically speaking, you know, all of that needs to be there, but they haven't built the surroundings around the studio to accommodate the producers and the writers and the clients and your client's client, client, or however that might work. And so it's not necessarily an inviting space. It might end up be more like a warehouse environment, but the end product looks great. Well, we wanted to do both, and we wanted it to be something that was, it checked all the boxes technically. You know, it was soundproofed, it had enough power, it had everything that you needed in that regard. But we wanted it to be creative and fun in a place that you didn't want to leave. You wanted to come shoot. When someone says, hey, we're shooting at that For the One studio, they're like, yes, we love being there, we want to be a part of it. And for us who work here and are in studios all the time, you wanted it to be a place you love to create in. And I believe we accomplished both. I don't say this in an arrogant way, I don't say this, it's the best studio that I've ever shot in. And we shot in a lot of studios. Someone said, well, in LA, do you shoot anything like this? And I'm like, no, because there wasn't anything like this. You're like, in the city of Los Angeles, yeah, they're not built with these kind of things in mind. So
I'll just echo on what you said. So as an agency, we bring in clients to do this. And so to have such cool lounges and places where we can sit and visit with our client, talk through the script, laugh, and have a good time. It's so comfortable and it's so inviting, and I think it creates an atmosphere for creativity and good things to happen.
It affects the end product.
Oh, it does.
Because it puts
Absolutely.
everyone in a certain mindset.
Yeah.
Definitely. No, it does, and that was super important to us, and I feel like it's been a big mission accomplished, and now we do have a big psych. It's no longer a window and a sheer curtain.
No more sheer curtains.
Yeah, so it's good.
Well, that's awesome. So if somebody wants to learn more about what you're doing or about For the One, like they want to come work here, how can they find out about it?
Yeah, absolutely. You can go to our website at fortheonestudio.com. You can check us out on all the social media, Instagram. I think we're even on LinkedIn. I think that's a thing still.
Instagram.
Yeah. And so we're on LinkedIn. If you're part of local ad clubs, you'll get to see us around there as well. Probably the best way to stay up to date on what we're doing, and give us a call. Look us up on Google. We're everywhere.
Awesome. Thank you, Kelley.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.